Hello Blues and happy Christmas to you. This is the Manchester Blues show. I'm Tom. On today's show we've got Adam, Dan and City Dave, and we talk about so much stuff about City. It's brilliant. We talk about City versus Leicester, magical Mahrez, the brilliant De Bruyne show, superb Bernardo Silva, talk about Gabriel Jesus and his first goal at home for 12 games. We talk about the 90,000 likes we reached on our Facebook page this week. We talk about the moments of the decade, the team of the decade. Get yourself involved on social media at Manchester is B or Manchester is Blue on Facebook. Get yourselves involved. We really hope you enjoy this show as much as we did putting it together for you. And thanks as always for your support for this year. We're might do another show before the Wolves game on Friday, so we might have a chance to talk to you then. But what we'd really ask for you to do is if you take a moment and give us a rating on whatever podcast provider you use to download your podcasts. Ratings do really help, and they'll help other fans like you find our show. So if you could give us a rating, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and happy Christmas.
Right, well, I was going to say this is the last one of the year, but I don't think it will be. I think I'm going to try and get a sneaky one in before or after the Wolves game on Friday, 27th, I think.
Yeah.
Welcome back, lads. Dan's got a beer, making me jealous already. That's never a good sign. We've got loads to talk about today. Do you want to jump straight into the Leicester game?
Sure. Absolutely.
Arguably one of the best performances of the season.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Based on the team that we were playing, it has to be the best we've played this season.
It was phenomenal. It was bizarre to watch from my point of view, because whenever I go to live games, I never see how dominant and attacking we are until I watch it again on Match of the Day the next day. And when I rewatched it, I was like, actually, I didn't feel worried that they were going to score. I know Vardy obviously beat Fernandinho to chip Ederson, which was a fantastic finish, by the way. And also, would you have Vardy at City?
Great player. Yeah, I don't think he'd fit into our style of play.
I just saw his movement and the way he pulls back, and he just reminds me a little bit of a couple of those strikers we used to have. And I thought to myself, do you know what? He would score hat loads in the City team. The amount of through balls we'll be able to provide for him. It's clinical, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. But I think we have someone quite similar to him in terms of the press. Jesus, I think bringing in someone as similar to him would actually be detrimental to his progression, maybe. So yeah. I think it's having this kind of, because this long-serving legend in Aguero bringing through Jesus and helping his development.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've run out of superlatives for Kevin De Bruyne now. People say to me at work, "Oh, what a fantastic player he is," and I just hold my hands up and go, "I don't know what to say anymore." He is that good. I'm really happy that his dad's come out, and I don't know if you guys read the interview his dad's done recently.
Yeah. Happy across the board, and he's happy in Manchester, happy with the club, loves everything. Apparently, it's all he ever talks about.
And that is absolute music to my ears, because he looks like a right moody sod on the pitch. So for his dad to come out and say that makes me happy.
Probably a good thing that he's moody, because it means he's not doing something that he likes and he wants to improve on it, and he's certainly doing that without a doubt.
City armband holder next season.
Mm.
Did you manage to watch the game, Dave?
Yeah, watched every minute of it. Best performance for me this season. Again, it's very much based on who we were playing. You know, they're second in the table. They're playing incredibly well, and we absolutely took them apart. And even Brendan Rodgers said the same thing. My niggling concern, which is what I was saying on our little private chat during the game, was it's sticking away our chances. And that's the thing. I knew that Leicester were going to catch us and go up the other end and score. We won the game, but it still concerns me that unless we're 2 or 3 goals up, we've still got this in us that we're gonna let a goal in. And if we haven't played so well, or if Leicester have played a bit more better defensively, they might have left with all 3 points.
Yeah, you called it, didn't you?
You got to complete our chances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you called it minutes before it happened as well. When I was watching the messages and saw Vardy run through on goal and he scored, I was like, oh, Dave's going to love that. Or not love it, but you know what I mean.
nearly got another doing almost exactly the same thing. That's a brilliant performance. De Bruyne was absolutely magical. Bernardo Silva was brilliant in that defensive role, supporting Gundogan. The defense was good. You know, Dan's pointed out on a number of occasions. Otamendi had a great game.
Yeah.
But for me, it's still taking those chances. You know, what happened to you remember when we had that period of scoring in the first 3 minutes for like 7 games in a row or something like that? We kind of need to get back to that again, because you just knew. I don't know what it was like in the stadium, but I just kind of knew that Leicester were gonna score if we didn't take our chances.
Yeah, I put the question on the page because after finishing and watching 90 minutes of that, I've changed my mind to thinking that Jesus will be City's number 1 striker in a few years' time. He missed too many. Really, it's not. It's the first time he's scored in 12 home games for us. Bear in mind, Aguero's been out for how many of them games? And after I was walking back to the car afterwards, just thinking, another up and coming striker coming through has got a really good chance of being in front of Jesus if he scores 2 or 3 goals on the bounce. And I don't know. I don't know what it is about him. I hope he can go on and do really well for us, because obviously he's a blue now and he's scored loads of goals for us. But there's just 2 or 3 opportunities where you just think to yourself, Sergio would have scored that.
Yeah, that quick feet of Mahrez, that goal when and it was a good save by Schmeichel, admittedly, as well. But yeah, that's the kind of thing where Aguero would have absolutely buried that. He wouldn't have just tried to get a touch on it. He would have absolutely hammered that into the back of the net.
Behind it, there were a few opportunities like that, wasn't there? I mean, Schmeichel made some really good saves, but Mahrez was fantastic. What a best game I've seen him play. Easily.
Yeah.
I think it was nice to finally see that potential come through for Mahrez. In that title-winning season that he had with Leicester, he seemed to be like the best player in the league easily. And so he had a few shaky seasons after that. And so when we signed him, there was that air of doubt about whether he would be able to recapture that form. And if that last game was anything to go by, he absolutely is still that player and still has that potential to perform completely.
It's funny, isn't it? You just can't. I think most players Pep signed, they're not just they can't come in and be will beaters. They need that season with Pep to try and understand where his football philosophy and how he likes to play the game and what's expected of them, and then they begin to flourish. It's really interesting. So just imagine what Rodri's going to be not like next season.
Yeah, that's a really good call.
I mean, it's the same as Adam saying with Mahrez. He had his bedding in season last season. We are actually all saying this, that we all said the same thing, all City fans, that, well, we've given Mahrez the year. We've kind of let him off last season because, yeah, he was kind of in and out and he had some okay performances, but nothing like he did on Saturday. And it just seems to be the thing that Pep will bring in a player and he needs 12 months with them before they really start understanding what is required of them to be not only a Pep player, but a Manchester City player nowadays.
Absolutely. I looked at a stat the other day that Mahrez had 10 shots in that game, more than any player since Andre Schurrle since 2018 against Burnley, and he is a player that loves to cut in and have a dig as well. He's not scared about. He's not lacking for confidence, is he, to come away and have a shot? And I just want him to emulate it now. I don't want him to go, oh right, okay, here's my old team. I'll peak now and then drop down level. Whereas Sterling in the past, when he's played Liverpool, he's kind of dropped performance, hasn't he, and stepped up for the other teams. It's kind of the role reversal.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's it now. I'm sure he's read the papers and I'm sure he's read social media and whatever else that was his best performance. And I'm sure, of being a professional that he is, that he'll want to emulate that and justify this. What was he? 60 million price tag.
Yeah, he wasn't cheap. Was he?
Got Zane will be back before the end of the season, so he's got Zane over his shoulder now. So he needs to start performing. He needs to keep performing, like he did on Saturday. And if we talk about Sterling for a second, Sterling could do with a job of actually taking a leaf out of Mahrez's book and taking 10 bloody shots in a game, because I'm sick of him trying to walk it in. I know he won us the penalty. It wasn't his worst game, Sterling, but he's still bloody so trigger shy. I don't know what's going on.
I completely agree with you. I didn't see the Sterling that I know during that game. My uncle said, he thought he had a fantastic game, and I didn't see Sterling of old against Leicester. And I think that's it. I think that's it. Why are you trying to walk in, have a dig, put your laces behind it? Would that be something Pep's told him to do? Be a bit more intricate, stop with the long shots, because Mahrez is having the long shots, isn't he? So it can't be something Pep said.
Pep wouldn't have said that. I mean, he's got the best out of him last season, didn't he? I mean, look what his management did to him. He was scoring goals for fun, almost. Arguably his best ever season. And I don't think it's anything Pep said. I think it's just more team play. But I completely agree with Dave. He's in the positions to have a shot. He's probably in those positions more than our strikers are, more than our attacking midfielders are. He does all the hard work. All he has to do is just lavish one in, And I was saying to my stepdad when watching the game, that one where it came over the top of him and he decided to take a touch instead of hitting it first time on a volley. Yeah. I wouldn't have minded if that had gone higher than the stands and outside and onto the road outside. I wouldn't have minded that, just as long as he's having a crack. Because any top player on top form in the world would have had a crack at that and it would have found the back of the net. And I think he just needs something like that.
You're spot on. When that happened, I thought De Bruyne would have hit that.
Yeah, he would have. He would have smashed it.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Aguero. Aguero wouldn't have fought twice. He would have hit that first time.
Yeah. And the thing is, Dan, you're exactly right. If Aguero had hit that and it had gone out of the stands and onto the road, his head wouldn't have gone down. All Aguero would have done was shrug his shoulders and go, "Fuck it, there'll be another chance in
next one
in a minute." And Sterling needs to start thinking like that. He's so just trigger shy. I can't think of another word for it. Of just taking a bloody shot. We're not bothered if it doesn't go in. We're bothered about you not even taking the opportunity.
Yeah, because I mean, on form, bar Aguero, he's probably our most prolific striker in a sense.
Yep.
But he's a bit like Jesus. Jesus just needs to find that bite and just go for it. I think he's emulating Sterling a little bit too much, Jesus, by taking players on rather than having shots a bit more. And there's players trying to take after other players that isn't working. And I think it's got to sort of come to the part where, look, you're taking the defenders one-on-one, have a crack. If you're not going to lay it off, because that's what Sterling did at least 3 times that game. He did all the hard work to get by the players, which he struggled to do recently. And there's times when he could have easily had a shot, but he was still trying to look for that pass at the same time. It's like he was in two minds about what to do. He needs to be like Aguero, be deadly, cut his teammates as he just needs to cut the teammates out in time and just have a shot. And like Dave said, it won't matter if it goes wide, just go for it.
Yeah, I think if he had the same ruthless selfishness that Mahrez has got, I think he'd score a hell of a lot of goals.
Oh yeah, definitely,
he's got
completely.
Talent, hasn't he? I saw coming on to your point, Dave, about the penalty. Here's a good stat for you guys. I know you like stats. Since the Premier League's debut in March 2012, Raheem Sterling has won more penalties than any other player in the competition. Do you want to have a guess of how many he's won?
14.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I take these things very seriously, Tom, as you know. Can you read the question again, please?
Since his Premier League debut in March 2012, do you want to grab a notepad and pen? Raheem Sterling has won more penalties than any other player in the competition.
In the Premier League.
In the Premier League.
Oh, I think Dan's got it in with quite a good shout there. I'm going to go 19.
Adam?
I also agree. I think Dan's probably in the right ballpark, so I'm going to go 40.
Oh, 17.
Yeah,
so you're there or thereabouts, lads. You went too far off there. I don't know if I would get as close as that.
Yeah. 2 a season. That sounds about right. Yeah. So he's our new Franny Lee, basically, Tom. Is what you're saying.
One Penley coming back to haunt everyone else.
Just one more thing I'd like to touch on
You two won't know one Penley, will you? I don't recognise it. I just threw my dad.
There's just one more thing I'd like to add on the Sterling topic. I think there's a particular type of finish that really is in the centre of Sterling's wheelhouse, and it's that peel away to the back post, get beyond the defender, and find that tap in. I mean, we're talking about somebody who seems off form and out of confidence, but got 2 goals against Oxford. And I think that's kind of strange in the sense that while he was in the right position to get those goals, I think that is the absolute centre of what he's capable of. And I think when he isn't feeling himself, he does fall back in that movement that he does have to find his way to the back post. But when we saw him at the top of his game, like the game against Shakhtar, when he was beating 3 players, curling one in from outside of the box, that's the Raheem Sterling on fire. That's the Raheem Sterling in form. And I think that's kind of what he isn't confident in himself. And so when he does have those shaky periods, he falls back on himself getting into the right position at the back post, so a De Bruyne or a Jesus or Mahrez can find him there. And when he isn't feeling confident, he isn't able to take those shots outside of the box that Mahrez does. And Mahrez backs himself and Kevin backs himself to take the shots. But I do think it is just a confidence issue for Sterling, because while he is still scoring those back post goals, like you said, like an Aguero or Kevin De Bruyne, they'd be more than happy to take those shots on from outside the box.
Yeah,
Take you up on that point, Adam. The bit where you said about Oxford and Sterling scoring too, you could argue, in a sense, the Oxford defence was harder to get by than Leicester's in respect to the way they played. Leicester were more sitting back and pressing on the counter-attack. Oxford were all over us all through that game. Yes, we had a much second-string squad.
Oh, killer Wi-Fi cracks on.
Yeah,
Have we lost Dan?
we think we have.
Yeah.
He's in deep thought there or
Oh, look
something.
at that. He's gone to find his Christmas jumper.
Yeah.
We'll come back on to Dan in a minute.
Yeah.
Hang on. One other thing I wanted to mention before we move on to the next point about Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne became the first player to register double figures for assists before Christmas in a single Premier League campaign since Mesut Ozil in 2015-16. That's a phenomenal stat. What a player he is! I don't think I can give you any more superlatives about Kevin De Bruyne.
No, I think we've been waiting for him. He was playing, I think we've all said on the podcast, about 90%. He's been playing incredibly well, but not still the De Bruyne that we saw the last couple of seasons. However, the last 4 or 5 games, I don't know, someone's put something in his water or something like that, because he's not playing 100%, he's playing 110%. He is absolutely leading that team. And now that it seems to me that it's dawned on Pep, why I got really annoyed before the game started on Saturday, as you know, is I thought he was going to put De Bruyne back as defensive midfielder again, like he did against United. I didn't think for 1 minute that Bernardo Silva was going to play next to Gundogan. So that's what really threw me. That's why I was so frustrated. Why would you put De Bruyne, further back when he's playing as well as he is? But fair play. That's why in Pep we trust that he realised, oh my God, right, let's put Bernardo there. Let's keep De Bruyne up front. And he was just sensational.
Absolutely.
I don't know who's a better player than him literally on the planet right now. I mean, it's not Hazard at Real Madrid, because he's playing shocking. It's not Ronaldo.
No.
Messi, you could argue, he'll do great things, but consistently at the moment, De Bruyne's got to be up there as probably the best footballer in the world.
Well, I'll come on to a point we spoke about, Dave, a few months ago, when I said I wouldn't swap Sterling for Messi or anyone else in the world right now. And it's exactly the same as Kevin De Bruyne. There's nobody in the world that I would rather see wearing a blue shirt other than him at the moment. And to hear his dad saying that today, because you always think, that's the old City analogy, isn't it? That's the City mentality of, we've got a really good player here, who's going to come in and buy him. But we've stopped doing that. I've still got that mentality, though. We managed to keep hold of the really best players, and to hear his dad come out and say that, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, this could be De Bruyne's even if we don't win the league, this could be De Bruyne's real big season from a cup standpoint, and from just leading that team into, you know, if we can finish a good runner-up, I would still love to us or some team to give Liverpool a little bit of a run, you know, the second half of the season. But I think if De Bruyne doesn't get injured, he could take us all the way. And I won't say any more than that, but I think he could.
No, I can't disagree with you. I can't disagree with a word of that. And he's dragging us through by our shoelaces, isn't he? He's to every moment. He's really dragging us through, and it's fantastic to watch as well. It's really fantastic to watch. The Pep said a word in the Manti. Something's happened somewhere, and something's just clicked. And the leader's coming out to him now, and the mentality of what he is brilliant as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and let's be honest, we don't know if De Bruyne has turned around to Pep and said something like, I feel he's such a fiery character, that he's so professional. It wouldn't surprise me if De Bruyne has turned around to Pep and the coaching team and said, have you seen how well I hit a ball in training? Why do you keep putting me at the back, and why don't you put me up front? And he's proved that against Arsenal, and thankfully now we're keeping that way. And I think, you know, let's not take anything away from Bernardo Silva either, who had an absolutely phenomenal game. I think partnered Gundogan really well, but more importantly allowed De Bruyne to not have to think about that that side of the game, and just focus on finding the space and getting on that ball as much as possible. And thankfully, Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne were absolutely on the same wavelength the whole game. If you looked, Bernardo Silva looked up every time he was on the ball and either pinged it to Mahrez in space or pinged it to De Bruyne, who would then just take that quick look up and ping it again to Mahrez in space. It was phenomenal.
And he's got the legs, Anti, to fight back for it and do the tracking and get the passes back and the interception. It's fantastic to see. Danny, you back with us?
I think so. I think my phone's been drinking more booze than I have. Don't want to work tonight, but it should be.
We're just, you can probably hear us, but we're just waxing lyrical about Kevin De Bruyne. I think we need to move on, because I don't think there's much else we can say about him other than we hope he signs another 10-year contract for us.
Yeah, he had a pretty average game, didn't he, really?
We've had quite a few questions going around. Adam, you mentioned it before. Team of the decade, moment of the decade, player of the decade, etc., etc., etc. So we'll move on to that. But before we do, just a quick shout out to us lot and to the other admin lads. 90,000 likes on our Facebook group this weekend, and it's up to 90,130 within sort of 12 hours. The group is going from strength to strength, and this podcast and the YouTube channel, I can only see it getting better in 2020, and here's to more success, lads. It seems to be working really well, what we're doing at the moment.
Well, as long as everyone likes what we're doing, which I think that we are, you know, my fervent hope is in a few years that City Media kind of take note of what we're doing, because we love our club and want us to get involved somehow. You know, I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, well, I still think Pep's listening into the podcast to listen to your words of wisdom.
I think he is, really.
No, anyone from City Media wants to get in contact with us through the Facebook group, that's fine. We'll vet you like we vet everyone else that wants to become an admin. Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about, for a quick moment, moments of the decade. Now, this is tough. 10 years is a very long time, and I've whittled it down to 3. So, shall I tell you which 3 it is? I think it is, or do you 3 want to try and guess what I think they are?
Aguero 1.
So, Aguero.
Yeah.
Vinny.
FA Cup. Yeah, the only one I've been... the third one.
Vinny versus Leicester.
I've not put that in.
Oh, hey.
That was very close. I had to whittle it down. I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, 6-1 is your other.
No, it's not. It's you know what? The changes. These are the moments that pinnacled for us. Was obviously QPR obvious, absolutely obvious. FA Cup final.
Yeah.
Was for me the last time I cried, and I got married 5 months ago, and I've had 2 kids. I hold my hands up. And Yaya Toure versus United. That goal was like, we're here. We're absolutely here. We are going absolutely nowhere because and obviously that was a game where Paul Scholes got sent off, was it, and stuff like that. And those 3 moments, this is really hard to try and decide a moment of a decade because you have got Leicester, you have got Vinny. What are yours? Try and have because I can't narrow it down because I think to myself, right, well I'll get rid of the Yaya Toure one versus United, but that was such a moment where in my brain we just clicked to going, do you know what, we're taking over this City, the future's blue, and that for me that was like a tick in my brain saying, why am I so nervous coming into a match?
Yeah,
for me, mine isn't QPR, but it's the same season, and it is to do with Vinny, but it's the goal against United.
The header.
Whenever I think of this first title, I always think we would not have won that title if it wasn't for Vinny again. And just as important as it was to Leicester, that header is more memorable in my mind. The celebration afterwards, the hysterics, everything was more than seeing Aguero run off after scoring a goal. That's for me personally. I'm sure there's plenty out there that probably agree. There's many out there that disagree. I feel we have a few, but that for me was pinnacle.
Was that the game when all the lights went off? And they did the blue moon over the stand, and the United fans had a flare.
I think it was. Yeah, it was. It
was a brilliant atmosphere. That was one of the best atmospheres I've ever been to a football match. That was fantastic, and that header was great. What about you, Adam? What are yours?
So for me, obvious and the outright winner is the Aguero QPR moment. The fact they've made a documentary about it, we've got a bar in the stadium named after it, tells you all you need to know about that. So I won't talk about that. In terms of games against United, I'd lean towards the 6-1 because whilst I agree that the Bruyne goal was a statement that we're here or arrived, the 6-1 was not only we're the top dog, it's you're on the decline now. And so that was a really big point for the change of momentum for us because I feel like the win at Wembley, that could be written off as just cup voodoo or something like that, or a one-off. But that 6-1, emphatic, own backyard, in front of them, watching all the United fans just filter out of the system is poetic in itself. And so for me, that'd probably be the second. The third, I'd go for the Company strike against Leicester. And the only reason that pips the Company goal against United was the Company goal against United came just before half time. We still had another half to push on and get another goal. Whereas that Leicester was right at the depth, do or die, never say never. And for me, those are the top 3.
Great shout. Dave?
Definitely number 1 is FA Cup win for me. Being a little bit of an older City fan, as you boys like to point out on occasions, I still have that little bit of negativity running through me. Being a long in the tooth City fan, to put that to bed in 2011 and win that trophy after so many years, I think I think a few tears were shed by me that day because I knew that was it, and we were onto something then, and that was just magical to actually win that trophy and beat United in the semi-final to actually make that final as well was fantastic. Second for me, right. So I won't do the Aguero thing then, which was obviously huge. Maybe even getting in. I think for me, just look at the managers that we've had since Sheikh Mansour took over. If you look at I have to pinch myself to think that we were getting the caliber of a manager like Mancini, who really did turn that club around for us and gave us that. He gave us that platform to have that winning mentality, in my opinion. That he brought the right players in, the De Jongs, the Kolarovs, etc., who gave us that mentality to go out and win games that usually, in the early noughties and 90s that we'd always lose. So I think Mancini, bringing him in was a masterstroke. I know he didn't leave under the very best of terms, but I absolutely idolise that guy. I think he's a brilliant manager. And what he did for City,
for him.
and he loves City as well. And bringing him Pellegrini, great manager. How can you say he's not with the trophies that he won for City, playing good football, and then masterstroke was getting in Pep, formidables. So I think that would be second moment if the caliber of plays we would get in. And I'm just probably going to go this one. I think signing Sergio Aguero, even though not my favourite ever player, that's the first time for me that we have brought in an absolutely world class player. We've never been able to do that before. We've brought players in who we think are going to be world class or have been highlighted to be world class, but they're not. Sergio Aguero is absolutely the first ever world class player that we've ever been able to get at our club. And look, he's been there 9 years, 9 years now. It's unbelievable.
It's phenomenal, really, and he's he made himself a little home in Manchester, and you've got to love him for that.
Yeah.
There's so many.
I want to just say something what Dan said as well, which is really important about that game that Dan highlighted where Company scored. What was so special about that as well is that let's all bear in mind that Ferguson, and when has he ever done this, came to the Etihad to get a draw. He just put all 10 players behind the ball. And how many years was he at United? 26 or something like that? When did you ever see Ferguson approach a game and tell his players, the Scholes, the et cetera, yeah, I don't want to win. Just make sure that they don't score.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is a massive, massive turning point that we were beginning to be seen as that club of, they can do real damage here. And this is United that we're talking about. And their manager is telling them, no, just don't let any in. Huge turning point.
We've been so lucky, haven't we?
Yeah.
In the last 10 years. I want to move on now to Team of the Decade. There's not going to be many surprises in this. Do you want me to run through mine?
Yep.
Yeah.
You ready for this? Now, the first one is a really, really hard one. Goalkeeper. I put Ederson in there. I know he's only been with us a couple of years. Now, Joe Hart, I have got a lot of love for Joe Hart. And he's made some absolute worldy saves. But for me, Ederson is one of the best goalkeepers I've seen play for City. And I've only seen him for a couple of seasons. And I weigh that in comparison to how much good and positive that Joe Hart's done for us. When he did an awful lot for us, winning those leagues, etc., and some absolute world-class saves. But he's just the next level to Joe Hart when it comes to goalkeepers. And that's why I put him in there. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's important to kind of define whether we're talking about achievement over the past decade or we're talking about what would be our best possible 11 in a time frame. So if we were to say Ederson is the best goalkeeper that City have had in the past decade, I would agree with that. But in terms of the accomplishments, I'd lean more towards Joe Hart.
Is that for what he's won or for what he's for? Because we were in that team in transition to being where we were to winning stuff.
I think it's more that shift of momentum, the shift of the power. He was a big point, clearly very vocal, one of the leaders in the dressing room, absolutely just influential throughout. And whilst I agree that Ederson is the better all-round goalkeeper, we are a better team with Ederson in. In terms of a retrospective look on the decade, I'd put Joe Hart in there.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that. It's a really good point, and it's a tough one to call that for me, because now you say that, I'm kind of like, the scales again are coming back to it. My defence, I've got Zabaleta, Company, obviously, Laporte, and Kolarov. What do we feel about that? Clichy was one there for Kolarov, but I think for left backs,
he is probably. I mean, more offensive than defensive, obviously, but scored some good goals for us. And I always felt with Kolarov that if a manager had took him aside and said, "I want you to focus on your defensive duties rather than bombing forward and scoring free kicks and whatever else," that he probably would have done it. But yeah, I don't think he was ever coached that way. I think he was really told, get forward and support the attack, just like Zabaleta did all the time.
And what's your thoughts on Laporte being in? Would you, from taking what Adam's point before, would you look at the likes of Lescott for where we came in and taking him through? Or would you stick with Laporte in there?
I'd stick with Laporte. I'm going off just how good they are as a player and in the time that they've been in City.
Yeah.
And Laporte for me has been easily the best central defender bar company that we've had in a long time.
Absolutely.
Even better than Savic.
Stefan Savic.
See, that's the thing. Look at how many Savic, Nastasic, Boateng. We got them all, and then we let them leave after a matter of months and went on to absolute greatness. And if you remember, that's exactly what I said last week on the podcast about Garcia, and that is my real fear, that if we don't look after Garcia properly, I guarantee you that he's going to leave and he's going to go back to Spain and he's going to be Barcelona's new Piqué, or he's going to go to Real Madrid and he's going to be their new Ramos. We have to keep Garcia.
Yeah, can't argue with that. I think the next 6 pick themselves. Please interrupt if not. We're going to go for Fernandinho, Yaya Toure, David Silva, and then De Bruyne, Aguero, Sterling.
No room for Martin Petrov?
Unfortunately not. Sorry, mate.
I don't agree with it then.
He couldn't even make the bench as far as I could say.
I'm gonna have to take Sterling out and put Tevez in.
Oh, do you know this? I love Tevez. I absolutely. If I could go back in time and choose one peak player to join us next season, it'd be Tevez in his peak.
Absolutely brilliant player. Sterling for me is still quite hot and cold. Tevez gave you always knew Tevez in a game was going to do something. Yeah. Whether that was score or make a good run or set something up or, be a moody bastard that he was, like always something would happen with him.
The Argentinian dick off.
Yeah. And thank God Zabaleta was there because I think how long did he stay? 3 years in the end with us, Tevez? 3 years? I think he only stayed 3 years because Zabaleta kept saying, calm the fuck down, Carlos. Like, it's all right. Like, it's going to be okay. I agree with everything there. The only argument that I have, and I know what you're going to say, I have a lot of love for De Jong.
Yeah.
And I think De Jong is as good in that defensive midfield position as Fernandinho. I really believe that. If you want solid, he doesn't have the passing range of Fernandinho. I get that, and he doesn't have the scoring. But he was to me like our Roy Keane for United. He was that aggressor. Like before you went on the pitch,
enforcer. He's won the back already.
Like you just wouldn't mess with him, would you? And it gives you that 5%, I think, on a pitch. So I'm somewhat inclined to agree with Fernandinho, but I could absolutely have an argument for De Jong in there.
Yeah, so the arguments there are Hart, Ederson, De Jong, Fernandinho, and Tevez and Sterling. And I tell you what, if you were to sit me down with a pint and talk me through, I could easily change my mind. And because they are that highly rated, it's really, really hard. And manager of the decade? Do we even need to answer that?
As I say, as much as I've got so much love for Mancini because he set us on the path that we're on now. Pellegrini came in and did a job and looked after the club very well. Obviously, in hindsight, on behalf of Pep Guardiola. But how do you go against Pep, who won every domestic trophy last season? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
You can't, can you? We'll time's drifting away from us, so we'll quickly move on to Friday night's game against Wolves. More of the same. No changes, please, Pep. Straight in. No, there's rumours that De Bruyne was injured, but he had a bit of cramp, didn't he? He's not going to drop it for the Wolves game, is he?
They had the cameras on him here in the States when he went down, and he did say very, very specifically, he's fine. It was just cramp.
Yeah. He reassured us. I can't, he did a post or something. I think it was a Facebook post saying he confirmed it was just cramp. There was a lot of talk about it. He confirmed it was just a bit of cramp.
I don't know how you three feel, but I'm in the mindset of you play your winning side and go again. I don't want to see any changes. Can you see any changes coming?
Aguero for Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
he'll rush him back.
Start
do you?
well. Yeah. I agree. He's obviously fit, Aguero, because I'm always of the mindset if you're good enough to be on the bench, then you're good enough to play. I would hope Pep and coaching staff are not putting players there who are not match fit. I agree with Dan that I think Jesus has done well in Aguero's absence, but Aguero's our main man, isn't he?
Yeah.
And we need him against Wolves.
Rodri instead of Gundogan. But Gundogan kind of seems to be an in-between player between attacking and defensive. And while we have Bernardo Silva in that defensive role, who is an out-and-out attacking player, it makes sense to kind of counteract that with Rodri, who is his defensive capabilities, basically. And I think that add a nice balance to the team.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It's a topic because they've got some really good attacking players. But so Leicester, every team's got some good attacking players, I suppose. But they have got the opportunity to hurt us, and they have done in the past, haven't they? So I'd like to see Rodri play. Yeah, that's true. That and Aguero's a really good shout as well. So yeah, maybe those two changes. What score do we going to go for? What predictions?
It's a toughie. I think it depends on which Traore turns up, because I think we saw obviously when he demolished us at our place when Wolves beat us. Whether we liked it or not, I think that was the game that highlighted how much we miss a fast, strong defender. And Vardy also showed that at the weekend, getting past Fernandinho. Fernandinho was ahead of Vardy, and the pace of Vardy was past him in a shot. Traore will demolish that City back line if we play in a similar way as we did against Leicester. But it all depends on Walker and Mendy for me. If those two play, I think we can hold him back, because I don't know whether you saw against Leicester the amount of tracking back Walker did to centre-back. He'd cut in from his own position to cover behind the wing, the full-backs, just to stop any more attacking. He was winning a couple of balls in the first half. And I think he needs to start just to halt the fast pace of Wolves. But I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
Oh,
yeah. I'm absolutely with Dan. I think Wolves are a very, very good team. I think that I said last week about Leicester will definitely score, and I was right. And I'm going to say exactly the same with Wolves. They'll definitely score against us because they've got good players. But we're playing very well at the moment, and if Pep doesn't tinker too much, then I'm going for 1-1. Okay. I'll be pleasantly surprised if we win there.
That's another score draw then, Adam.
Yeah.
So before we got the other answers in, I also was going to say a draw. So in terms of being more optimistic, I'm going to say that Kevin De Bruyne turns up, absolutely shows us he's the best player in the world right now, drags us through our shoelaces to a victory. I'll go 2-1.
Good lad.
We all know that I'm not going to do predictions, so I'll
don't.
This is just going to be interesting the next, obviously, few days, because we got 3 games in six days. So the rotation that Pep's going to have to do is there's no other way around it. It's where, as you lads are saying, where Rodri comes in. You know, is Mahrez go out for a game and put Bernardo in there, you know, instead of his more natural position. I think David Silva is coming back from injury now, and I think it's going to be available over the holiday period. So where does he fit in? Because that's another one with Pep that I always feel that when David Silva's fit, Pep is kind of like he is with Gundogan, that he always wants to play him. I don't agree with that. And where's Foden going to get some time? Because Foden should be starting games. He's not done anything wrong for us to say that he shouldn't.
Yeah, we've got Sheffield, haven't we, and then Everton. So games.
I was going to say then, Dave, do you reckon Foden will come in against Wolves? That extra pace than Bernardo to do what he did against Arsenal, just to stop the fast attacking player Wolves? And maybe play Bernardo a bit more attacking.
I mean, for me personally, I wouldn't be changing the team. I don't like changing a winning team, and Pep always seems to like to tinker with it, and I've never understood why. But that means that Foden doesn't start. So,
because the only reason I'm saying that is because against Arsenal, De Bruyne played more of a right winging style position with Foden in his role, in the more defensive side to it, tracking back. I just wonder if he might do that, drop Mahrez and maybe push De Bruyne up a bit and have, was it Gundogan and Rodri against Arsenal?
Yes. And yes, it was. Yeah.
I have a funny feeling he might do that and do the exact same style against Arsenal, because Arsenal are more about the pace up front as well. And I think we stopped that because we obviously had De Bruyne further up the pitch. Yes, more on the right side, but we had the two speedsters in Bernardo and Foden cutting that midfield up. And I just wonder if that might be the same sort of style he might take.
Interesting point. Yeah.
Well, he earns £20 million a year, as I say every week. So bloody earn it.
Well, we've got...
And chase them.
Yeah, we've got Wolves away, Sheffield United at home. Tough game.
That's going to be a huge
and then
game.
we got Ancelotti's Everton at home on the 1st of Jan. And then we got the Port Vale that comes to us, and then we got a semi-final against United to come up against. So, we've got a hell of a few weeks going. Did you hear that we're only going to get 3,000 tickets at Old Trafford? And City have said the same to United.
Yeah.
Not giving 3,000 tickets because of safety issues for that game. It's not a lot, is it?
Nah. But you can sort of understand it. I mean, it's a throwback almost to when we won the FA Cup the first time, but obviously that was at Wembley. But it's going to be one of them where I think United will be pushing more for the FA Cup than any game across all competitions, because realistically that is probably the only one they can go for. Not the FA Cup, EFL Cup. Yeah, the FA Cup, obviously there's too many good teams still in that competition, including ourselves, obviously, so it's not even started yet. But if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'd be going for the League Cup just for a trophy. I think City aside, it's the only trophy they can go for, and I think the fans will pick up on that. And considering what happened against the most recent derby, I think there's going to be a lot of anger. There's going to be a lot of drinking. There's going to be a lot of everything involved in that game, more than there was against the derby that's just being played. So I can sort of understand it, but still, it's ridiculous the low amount. Even for a game like that, 3,000 is nothing, is it, really?
It's not a lot. There's it's an 8 o'clock kickoff on a Tuesday night, I think.
Well, that makes it more understandable to a degree then.
Yeah, Tuesday night, so 8 o'clock kickoff. So, yeah, I can understand that massively. We just need to spank him, don't we? We just need to take him to
Payback.
God, I'd love to. Absolutely love to.
And I honestly think that we will. I've been talking to a couple of my United mates, and as we all said on the podcast, they absolutely deserved that win a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. They battered us. What I hope is, and what I think has happened is, the penny has dropped with Pep on a few things. He's not going to let that happen again. We're not going to play that badly again. I think he will have got United's number, and I fervently believe that we will absolutely take them apart over 2 legs. I really do.
I hope so. I want it to be embarrassing. Really.
Yeah, I would love that. A 9-0 at the Swamp, and then a 4 or 5.
Is it me doing the score predictions here, or Dave? 9-0.
I just think, Dan, that we've got the measure of them now. That's the best United are ever going to play against us in this era, in my opinion. And they won 2-1. And it could have been more. I just think Pep has absolutely got their number now, and I think we'll batter them. I think we'll batter them in the League Cup, and I think we'll batter them in the Premiership.
And the players have got a good hard look at themselves and go, do you know what? We've got to be up for this today. We are going to be absolutely up for this today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I said in the private space, I think City are back to the best now. I think we've sort of been tweaking it when we played Burnley and obviously had the dip in the derby. I think against Arsenal and Leicester, the way we're playing now, the passing, the fluidity of it all, I think we're finally where we should be, where we should have been at the beginning of the season. I think he's finally got it right.
Yeah,
and with the players coming back from injury as well, all guns, De Bruyne firing on all cylinders as well, the motivation and the energy it's going to bring. And Foden now getting game time and proving he's the best, he's well in with the best of the bunch. It's hopefully all good from now on.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's time, lads, for another week. I think we'll take this opportunity to say Happy Christmas to everybody.
Happy Christmas, all 90,103 fans.
Absolutely. And happy Christmas to you three lads and the rest of the admin lads. And we'll speak to each other very soon.
All right.
All the best, boys. Have a merry one.
Happy Christmas. See you soon.
Bye.
Until we die.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye.